We probably have some time for questions.
Yeah, I think it'd probably be a good time to get into some questions.
Cool. We got two good questions. Norval wants to know, when recording death metal style vocals, do you ever use a dynamic mic like an RE20 or an SM7 for proximity effect, thickening, or a condenser mic for detail?
Yes and yes.
Okay.
Those are all good mics. The RE20 is a staple, and so is the SM7. The SM7 has been used for many vocals. It's kind of SM7 is kind of between like a one on a stand and handheld kind of thing. It's kind of an odd looking mic, but I would totally use those if they work for you. We actually did we break this thing out? This is a handheld condenser, also made by Blue. I used to use the 58 or 58 beta or whatever. Really, if you're used to a certain mic, especially live, or like if you know what your sound is, or like you have a certain thing that works for you, by all means use that. There's actually a funny story with Paul Rogers. We were doing the Muddy Waters tribute, and I was just assisting that, and the engineer, they set up the whole thing. It was a beautiful setup, like drums, bass, guitar, everything live. They're going to track everything live. I mean, it's like one of those, like everybody was that good. And they set up like a C12 or a 250. These are expensive microphones, not like old things. And, he sang into it, and like, it doesn't sound like me. But it sounded good, but he goes, it doesn't sound like me. And it's like, I use a different mic. It's not the same thing. It's like something's wrong. And then everyone's like, I don't know what you want. This is like good stuff here, you know? And he's like, let me call my guy. It's whatever. It's like 3 a.m. in England right now. Nobody's up, but I'll have it tomorrow. And he comes in, and with a piece of paper, says, he told me to tell you that I normally use a 57 and a 160X. And a 160X is like not a cheap compressor, but it's an inexpensive compressor. It's a DBX 160X. Every studio used to have them. They still have them. I have them.
Yeah.
They are not the vocal compressor of choice. Like it costs like a third or like a tenth of these things.
Right.
And an SM57, we talked about that.
Yeah.
It's
the
a 57.
Yeah. It keeps coming back.
They put that on, and it sounded. He was like, "Yep, that's what I sound like." And
when you listen to his vocals on any record, that's probably that.
Yeah.
And they sound great. It turns out he's a great singer.
Turns out that's what it is.
Yeah.
And the engineers didn't trust it enough.
Yeah.
To not record the other microphone as well.
Right.
They were like, just in case you want to have the good microphone.
Right,
like
the
good microphone.
But, to answer Norval's question, what I would do for death metal vocals, for the TV show and all that stuff, I find that to get that guttural sound, that lower kind of sound, and to make that kind of sit on top of the mix in some way, for the TV show, oftentimes I'll take my high-pass filter on my 1176 and crank that a little bit more, like 2 notches to the right, just to get a little bit more brightness out of my voice, because that'll make you work a little less hard.
Sure, yeah.
Getting that sound, because basically you're telling your voice to smash itself together and pushing air through it as much as you can to get all that flappy guttural sound. It sounds like somebody's burping or dying. But that will help it sit. So when I give you rough mixes, I usually put an easy mix, high pass kind of thing on top of it. And sometimes I'll put the slowest chorus that is just putting it out of tune with itself, just the slightest amount, like maybe a couple cents on either side, on the left and right, and that'll kind of help get the brightness out into your more classic guttural death metal vocal.
True,
and the same thing with the more kind of like pinched false screams as well too. And the false scream, for those of you who don't know, is that sound where it almost, and this is stuff I learned through talking to other metal singers, was it's more of a whisper. It's like that sound of a football field, sounds like tons of people from
Yeah,
far
yeah.
away screaming. So you're kind of doing that, but you're also tightening the back of your throat, and it's more of a high rather than the lower kind of like, because you're not really hitting a note, it's more of a sound that you're
yeah.
making. It's a loud thing. So but a high pass filter will do a lot of your work for you. And I've talked to other singers, and they say your microphone is your friend. Hold it close. Do it. You don't have to kill yourself because you got a lot of takes in the studio. You're gonna hurt your voice, and you have to get your voice in shape. Now, I did a live show where we did the Tenacious D thing, the Festival Supreme, and I had to start making those sounds and breaking my voice in because I'm not always doing that screaming voice, and my voice is like sitting lower 2 weeks afterwards after having done a lot of that stuff too. But you have to work yourself into it, and the microphone and the top end of your mix or your EQ or your high pass filter in your preamp will help out a lot.
Absolutely.
You'll notice if you just brighten everything, it'll sit on top of the guitars just a little bit better.
Yeah.
It won't compete with the kind of mid range. But you'll also get all your attack and all the punctuation that you need. So I hope that helps.
It does.
Okay.
Yeah, it definitely does. There's another question. He has another question, actually,
Yeah,
Norval does. What do you think of using a parallel aux channel full of compression to bring out the nuances and adding grit mixed back and underneath the main vocal?
You can totally do that. That's
Have you done that? Is that a
yeah? I
normal
mean,
thing?
that's part of you use those kind of tricks. It's like in a parallel effects end. You use that with reverb or delays or everything else. You can use it with distortion. You can use it with like extra compression. They call it parallel compression. And some people do it with drums. Some do it with extra guitars or those are mixing tricks at some point that you can incorporate into recording. Like if your brain responds to hearing that, and it'll make you sing a little differently too, because you hear things a certain way. It's the same as like your reaction, your hand's reaction, your brain's reaction to playing to an amp, as opposed to not.
A plug-in or something like that, yeah.
Like there's a certain reaction. Like the amp reacts to you playing it, and you in turn react again to what you're hearing, and so you play differently.
Yes.
Same thing with vocals. If you do set up a distortion chain, be that the way Norval wants to set it up because he's used to that, that's totally fine. And he hears it a certain way, and therefore inspires him to like use his voice a different way than he normally would. So that's whatever that goes like very much into like your own identity and your own thing, and setting yourself apart from what other people are doing.
Well, I know that it's good to experiment with that kind of stuff because it may preserve your voice in some ways too.
Absolutely,
so if you've got a lot of compression in your chain, like more compression than the 1170s, like your secondary compression, you're saying, like the parallel compression, that will make you maybe sing softer. I know that I found it fascinating to find that Chris Cornell is a little quieter than you think he is when he's belting out all that Soundgarden stuff, because his microphone is working and he's got his whole chain of compression doing its job, so he does not need to scream and kill himself, because how would you get through one of those songs live? It's so much, and he sounds like he's just screaming and screaming, but it's really good technique, and it's really good a really good use of the microphone as an instrument or as an aid to your voice. So I think it's a good idea to experiment with that stuff. And also, I mean, at this point, Norval, that if it sounds good, it's working.
Yeah.
And I think that you're going to find that, I mean, here's a vocal that doesn't sound horrible, and I've got one plugin that has a preset on it, and it's going to work for us. Again, get the job done and write good music. That's the important part.
Yeah.
But if it's working for you and it's making your life easier, by all means do it. And plus, that's the kind of thing you can, if you're interested in duplicating live, and making sure you can get through an entire set without your throat bleeding and you falling down and someone have to James Brown you with a cape on out of the room, So,
and to go back to the microphone question, if his mic choice that he has, like the SM7, if he's comfortable with that, along with that sidechain that he's built up, and if that's what works for him, then
that's
by all
okay.
means,
It's okay. Use it. It's okay. That's the idea. Is that it's okay. Whatever it is that makes you. If you're sitting there and you're hearing a frequency in your voice that you just hate, switch microphones.
Sure.
Try it out. It's going to be the microphone. The microphone is going to curve your EQ, just like it does with a guitar amp. I remember asking somebody at the Royer company for the 121. And I said, why is everybody going crazy over this microphone? What is this microphone doing that's different than every other microphone? And what the person that worked at Royer told me, he said, this, we believe, and what the people who like this microphone believe, is this is what it sounds like when you stand in front of an amp.
There you go.
That's what the sound is like. And if you put a different microphone on there, it's going to get a different EQ curve. It's adding one new different EQ in one way or another. So putting like we did yesterday with the 421s, that's going to give you a little bit more of a warmer low end. The SM57 is going to give you, I think SM57 curves the highest in a really comfortable way.
It brings out like a really pleasant guitar thing.
It really just, whatever that thing is inside of that microphone, doing God knows what, is a frequency that is pleasant on our human ears, and it helps us. So why wouldn't it do that with a voice? Why wouldn't it do it with something else? Maybe it would muffle an acoustic too much. Maybe we want more brilliance out of the strings or something on an acoustic. But yeah, that's the idea. Is this is swap out your mics if they get too bright and too nasally for you. You may not want it. I like a warm microphone, and then I like to put a high-pass filter on it because that's a different EQ than me using a brighter microphone.
Whatever inspires you to put in a good performance, really, is
I'm telling you, this C1's studio. Oh, it's a Studio Projects microphone.
Studio Projects,
That's what a C1 condenser Studio Projects microphone is. The one that I use for all these vocals, and for all the Death album, maybe 2 and 3 vocals, or at least 3 Galacticon and Doomstar. It was a $100 microphone on eBay.
I don't think you can get them anymore.
I know. I don't think they make them, but
I think they're made by like the sister company is that Sterling company that you can get at Guitar Center.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you find one on eBay, grab it. And they don't cost that much.
No,
and
they're very affordable.
You may like the EQ curve. You may not. My voice is nasally. It helps. So there you go. Any other questions?
Yeah, Dustin has a question. This is a multi-part question.
Oh, good.
So we can sort of tackle it all at once or in sections. What microphone do you prefer for voiceovers, like spoken word?
That is a good question.
With spoken word voiceover thing, you want to get something that's quiet. That doesn't have extra noise. That is very neutral sounding, so you can really work your voice because at that point you're more of an actor as opposed to a metal performer.
Right.
And I mean you'll still want to get a vocal mic that complements your voice, but you're looking at a different thing. You're looking at like the sound people they need to fit that into a different world.
You really want all your frequencies really well represented, is what I think, and that's what you're saying, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you don't want to have like a noisy mic, and you'll need a clean preamp too, and the cleaner those preamps get, the more expensive they'll be, unfortunately. But the point is that they need to fit that into a whole different world. Very often by yourself, like just the voice, and you can't have that extra noise in there. Yeah, there's plugins that help you take noise out, but that also affects the sound of your voice. So you'll want something clean that is complementary to your voice. So you're looking at like. That's when you get into like more expensive microphones.
Yes, I agree, and I think you can also. We've gotten the job done with many different microphones on metal law clips as well, because I don't even know what we have in the studio at Titmouse where we do it, but I know it's very little compression. It's compression that's unnoticeable because you get that kind of Class B kind of like sound, whatever the compression sound is. And oftentimes we'll have a lot of guests do voice. I know that Devin Townsend did some voiceover for us, and I was talking to him on the phone, and I said, okay, just use your stuff in the thing. And what I got back from him was a really compressed. He treated it like a vocal thing, and I said, oh, okay, the performance is outstanding. It was really funny. And I said, is that a plug-in with the compression? Can you take that off? Can we just get the clean mic with, it's okay if it's peaking and all that stuff. We'll take care of that later. And he ended up giving me back the uncompressed version of the same exact thing. And that's what we ended up using, because ultimately we need to fit that in with a different group of microphones. And if we need to put a high pass, low pass EQ so it fits into our world, 9 times out of 10, no one will ever notice that we didn't do it all on the same day with the same group of actors, And yeah, I mean, that's where I think a microphone with an EQ curve, like I wouldn't use a 57. You probably could. I know we recorded James Hetfield with the same microphone that he uses on on all of his vocal mics, and it didn't have a popper stopper or anything on that, so we had to kind of EQ out and get into some of the consonants and all those things and EQ some of that stuff out. But you want to be aware of the P's, be aware of the breaths, be aware of that stuff. And oftentimes they stay in there and we don't care. And if it's funny, we don't care, If it's working well and the story's tracking, we don't care. As long as we can hear it and it's clear, it's okay. I know that another thing that studios like to do when they record is they like to get very, very quiet signal. They like to go very quiet. And sometimes I think it's too quiet because we usually like to dial stuff loud, but the wave sound, and it's probably, when you're going into Pro Tools here, it's like down here, in the green, like way too, very safe.
Yeah, I guess.
You may get extra noise out of it sometimes. I'm always here, I'm here, and sometimes I'm up here.
I'm guessing that they are just afraid that there will be a loud section that'll distort.
I think they are, and they really they ride their mic pretty close. Where I usually leave mine open, and if I need to scream, I'll take a step away and I'll just use mic technique. And sometimes when I do belt stuff out, they have a very directional microphone where if I step out, they have to. Some people get really persnickety about that stuff. I don't. I think if you can hear the dialogue, it's okay. And even in a movie or whatever, I think it's okay. I think people sometimes overanalyze that stuff.
Sure.
But the best thing is it's like a great performance. If you're a good voiceover actor and you're confident and you're having fun while you're doing it and you're loose, that's the best vocal mic too.
Sure.